Hello, I'm Panos Kotzathanasis, and this is ASEAN Movie Pulse Interviews. Today I'm here with Laha Mebow, whose film Gaga is screening in the New York ASEAN Film Festival. How are you, Laha?
Hey, hi, I'm fine, thank you. Yes,
Okay.
exciting. It's the first time I've been to New York.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Okay, so Gaga is the last film of the Atayal trilogy. Can you tell me a bit about this trip from the first movie till now, how it all happened, what the purpose was, and how do you feel now that it has finished?
那这三部曲你们讲一下，从一开始到现在，那为什么拍这三部片？
好，我也讲中文。
嗯，
我第一部片其实是回到我自己的部落去拍。那因为我没有在部落长大，所以我就透过拍电影，然后一步一步的来认识我自己，跟介绍我的文化给大家。所以其实拍电影对我来讲是一个我表达我们文化的故事，我觉得我最真爱的一个方式。对，所以第一部片我回到我的部落。像是寻根，第二部片我透过小朋友的成长，然后第三部片就透过三代的家庭。那每拍一部，我越来越觉得我越了解自己的文化，所以到现在这一部片，其实我希望是拍给所有的人看，不只是原住民的朋友。然后我觉得这次应该有做到，大家会觉得它是一个家庭的故事，因为家庭是共同的主题，那透过家庭，大家又多了解我们泰雅族的文化的背景。对，因为我希望说故事的时候是不带有说教，让大家可以在这故事里面了解这个族群。
So the trilogies that I started with my first film, which is Seeking Shaoyun, and that particular film actually shot in my own tribal community. I didn't grow up in my own tribal community. I grew up in urban cities, and to me, making that particular film is a way to seek my own root. And for me, it's to get to know my own community, to my own culture, and my own tribe. So I really cherished every moment that I had the opportunity to get closer to myself, my own exploration, my journey, and also my culture and my tribe. And the second Atayal film is it's about the upbringing and education and the growth of the tribal children in my own communities. And I see that as a way to find different characters to tell the stories of my tribe. And the third one, I thought that one way to really showcase my tribal cultures and this concept of Gaga is to use family drama, because this is something that everyone can relate to. It is something that is universal. And I really hope that I get to not only understand my own culture and my own root, but also be able to share my culture with the rest of the world. You don't have to be tribal members or indigenous people in order for you to relate to this type of family drama, family dynamics. And I really see that as a way in for other people to understand us and also for me to understand myself as well.
And how would you describe the life of Atayal people right now? What would you say are the most significant problems they face?
那你怎么可以描述一下现在泰雅族现在的现状是什么？他们现在最大的挑战是什么？
泰雅族的现状，其实台湾有16个族群嘛，那我们是其中一个。我们其实在这个当代遇到的问题都很类似，因为我们的文化被统一了嘛，就是必须所以我们必须要在这个当代去寻找我们的方式。那我觉得如果你讲比较社会的问题，其实我觉得那已经不是族群。你在比较偏远的地方，本来一些资源上本来就会贫富不均，那这是一个。那我觉得比较重要的是，因为我们是一个独立的族群，那如果我们在这个当代那个精神消失了，其实就不会有这个族群了。就像我在都市长大，我完全不会这个语言。可是我在拍片的过程中，其实像我这部片一半以上全部都是族语，虽然我听不懂，可是我是看表演，可是对我来说，我不懂我的族语，其实语言里面有很多的文化在里头，所以我其实现在想要去 想办法，对，因为我主语比英文烂的非常多，对，对，英文也没有是多好，可是你完全不讲它就消失，所以这个是我觉得不管是语言或者是我们要去抓回我们自己的精神的这部分，要不然这世界上就不会再有这个族群了。就像我现在拍的这本《Gaga》，对，《Gaga》其实是我们的价值观，对，那是在叙述我们在这个当代这个 Gaga 如何消失。但对我来说 ，Gaga 没有消失，我们其实在不同的时代，只要我们相信的话，我们还是可以去活出新的一个 Gaga 出来。
So in Taiwan, Atayal tribe is one of the 16 tribes. And even though that we have different tribal members, we face similar problems and challenges, being homogenized by the mainstream culture, by the Han culture. And I do think that, different tribes have a different way trying to deal with this and trying to face our own issues. Of course, if you look at the urbanizations, and that's somehow making the rural areas not as prosperous as the urban setting and urban areas, and also the disparity between the have and the have-nots, definitely a common problem that all the tribal members face. And I do think that even in terms of with the homogenized mainstream culture that forced certain language to disappear. Myself as an example, that growing up in urban setting, that I didn't really speak my Atayal tribal language. And for this particular film, even though that I don't understand most of what's been said, more than half of the dialogues actually were done in the Atayal tribal language. So I do think that it is intentional for me to really incorporate more of the linguistic aspect to this, because it's a huge part of the culture that I'm trying to preserve and trying to capture. And for me, it is really sad to think that my tribal language is actually worse than my English, and it is something that I'm trying to resolve and also hopefully improve. And because if you don't speak it, it would disappear. And then, it is only through constant practice and to have this type of immersion to be able to sustain a language. So for me, I really think that it is similar to talk about the disappearance of the language is also the part of the disappearance of Gaga that I'm trying to capture, which is this idea of the way of life and also the core values of the Atayal people. And I really hope that, because of the pressure of the modern day, and also the urban setting and also the mainstream culture, I really want that we will find a way to preserve, not in its original form, that because modern days maybe require a different way to carry out, to reclaim the Gaga that we lost or it has been disappearing. And we just need to find a new way to perpetuate and to continue and to reclaim it.
And does she think that her films have made a change in the life of these people? And maybe more in general, does she feel that cinema can make a change in real life?
那拍过这部电影后，对于部落的这些族人和拍片的这些演员，对他们生活有些什么改变吗？那在用广泛的巨观的角度来说的话，你觉得电影是可以改变现实的生活？
好。其实电影没有办法改变现实的生活，对，我知道有些人想要在我的电影里面想要找到解决的方式。其实我觉得电影它可以让不了解我们的人知道我们的处境跟我们为什么不一样，然后为什么会有现在这样的状况在。那我觉得对我自己的族人有更多的提醒在。然后像Gaga这个词，因为其实台湾对原住民也不太了解，那至少看过电影人，他们开始在思考，在讲Gaga这个词，我觉得我觉得这个对我来说引起了讨论，然后大家开始去了解在这个土地的原住民的这个族群，我觉得这是一个非常好的事情。
Personally, I don't think that films can solve the problems that we have in reality. And I do think that one way that I can, through films, is to help people understand. And one way to do that is to for the viewers to understand why the indigenous people or the Atayal people, they are the way they are now, and what are the issues and problems and the challenges they have faced to get to the point of where they are now. And I do think that that's a different perspectives that I have very rarely seen in the mainstream media. Even with this concept of Gaga or a film like this, I do think that most of the people in Taiwan, they have very limited understanding, limited knowledge of the indigenous tribes in Taiwan. And I do think that through a film like this, the least we can, well, for the very least, what I can do is to make sure that the viewers will start to talk about this concept of Gaga. And if anything, they will have this new understanding of why this is important to us and what it means. And people start to talk about it. And it is sort of create this discussions among non-tribal members. So I do think that, one step at a time, I don't think it can solve problems, but definitely it can help people understand.
Okay, and Gaga screened in festivals all over the world and won a number of awards. And is she proud for its success, and did she expect it?
Gaga 也在很多世界上的影展里面放过，也得了很多奖。那你是觉得非常的骄傲，然后很高兴会有这样子一个收获？
因为你在拍片的时候，你不会去想到后面会发生什么事或什么样的旅程，其实就是尽力去做。那我觉得可以到世界各地去放，然后我也很愿意的去参加每一个放映的机会，因为我一直很想要跟很多人不同世界人让他们知道我的族群。那骄傲应该是说，我觉得其实一直会相信是我们江祖林他选择了我去做这件事情，那我就是把它尽力的去说，然后当然对，好，没事这样。
So when I was making this film, I didn't really think about what's going to happen in terms of the success and accolades and awards that I might receive. And I was just trying to tell my story and do my best to make the best film that I can make. And after I finished the film, I do want to take every opportunity that I can show this film around the world so that I will be part of many film festivals. The reason for it is because I do really want other people around the world to understand my culture, my tribes, and to understand the issues that we're dealing with. And I do think that for me, I also very much believe in part of the Gaga is the ancestral spirit that within the Atayal tribes. And I do think that I hope that I make them proud. And I think that the reason why we have success, such as the one that we are enjoying now, it is because the blessing from the ancestral spirits and because they are part of this film as well.
And have the Atayal people watched the movie? And if yes, what was their reaction?
大家有没有看过这部片呢？他们的反应是什么？
当然啦，其实我拍的那个部落，我第一个时间就回去到部落去首映。对，然后因为我每拍一个电影，我都要这样做，因为他们允许我到部落去拍摄，也饰演了里面的就是背景的角色。那我记得是去年10月的时候，我记得很惊讶的是，就是在看的时候，因为我在就是在城市释放的时候，大家在看电影都会一直笑，然后他们都没有笑的反应，我想说怎么会这样？后来发现后来原来知道他们其实哭比笑还要多，因为他们第一个觉得太真实了，然后因为就在自己的部落，我觉得而且很多老人家已经80几岁都不会去戏院看电影，可是他们很认真的去，就是发生在自己身边的事情，而且就在部落里。我觉得那个感觉吧，我觉得有 touch 到他们的心，所以我有他们的认可，所以我就觉得那这个片子就没有问题了，不是我自己乱想象的，这个是大家都有共同觉得是可以这样呈现的。对。
So of course, I have to show the films to them. In fact, I actually had my premiere of the film and back into the community that I shot the film in. And the reason for it is because the least I can do, if you allow me to not only make this film in this particular tribal community, but also a lot of you participated as extras for my film. That's the least I can do as a filmmaker, is to bring the film back to the community. So last year in November, I premiered this particular film in my own tribe, and where the film was shot. And I was a little bit surprised by the reactions of the tribal members, because during the screenings in the urban setting, most of the viewers, they laugh at many of the scenes from the films. But for the Atayal people from the tribal community, when I saw the film during the screening, people actually cry more than they laughed. And I was a little concerned why that is the case. And later I realized that the reason for it is because a lot of tribal members, that they really see a true depiction of their lives on the big screen. And it is so moving and touching because it's so realistic, so authentic, that is so close to home for them to not they can't help but sort of tearing up, because that it is the story is being shown on the big screen. So especially for a lot of elders, that they very rarely to go to Cineplex to see films. And when they saw the films and they see how realistically and how authentically their life being portrayed, they are so moved and so touched. So it's a big relief for me, because I realized that it's an affirmation that this is not just a film that I made up in my head. This is something that really that is so realistic and so authentic, that it touched so many people in the tribal communities.
So was one of her purposes with this film to portray this society realistically, as possible? And if the answer is positive, then why a feature and not a documentary, let's say?
那当初想拍这部片的时候，是想要让它越写实越好。那如果真的是要用写实的方式去讨论这个族群的问题的话，为什么不用纪录片的方式来表达？为什么要用虚构的长片的方式？
我自己有拍纪录片啦。那其实你说越写实越好，其实里面的影片当然都是素人演员饰演嘛。其实因为很多人说它像纪录片，那所以纪录片因为其实我们也是有经过分镜或什么的。那我觉得可能大家觉得太太真实，就是感觉他们的表演或什么，其实我们也是透过了很多的时间去培养这个原来都不是一家人的演员。对，我觉得这也是一个表达的方式。我觉得纪录片跟剧情真的还是不太一样。对，因为剧情我可以设定，那纪录片无法按照我的方式，我想要的预想走下去。对，所以还是不太一样的部分。对。
I also make documentary films, but I do think that these are completely two different ways of expressing myself, and one I have full control of. I know exactly how I want it to be, whereas the other ones that I just let the subjects live their life that they live. So I do think that it's just a matter of trying to find different ways of telling stories. And even though that, yes, I want it to be as realistic as I can, but at the same time as that, I use many non-professional actors in this particular films. And even though that we have storyboards and we sort of have very clear how we want to shoot and film this particular movie, but at the same time, I do think that using the non-professional actors and capture that particular essence of being real, and also that these are the people, they are strangers to each other, they are not family members. So for this particular film, they actually somehow created this cohesive family that you see on screen. And I do think that it's a wonderful way to utilize the vehicle of a narrative film to make something like this possible. That you just put people who are strangers and then through the different characters and using non-professional actors, and somehow you created something from zero, from nothing. And that's something that I enjoy as well.
And since she mentioned the actors, can she tell us a bit about how the casting worked for the film and if it was difficult to find people who speak the particular language?
那选角方面是不是很有挑战性呢？那是不是特别是有一些需要会讲族语的这些人是特别难找？
其实，在选角的时候，我们大概花了8个月的时间吧，因为一家人其实角色都很多，其实也没有刻意去以族语为考量。那当然就是他们的质感跟我想要的，就是常常我第一眼看应该就知道这个是可以是这个演员，对。然后那当然刚好选到里面的grandma 的角色，他本来就会讲族语，然后他的儿子也是一个族语老师，所以他们两个就有很精彩的族语的很大量的族语的对话。虽然我听不懂，可是我看表演我就觉得很精彩，对。所以我每次选角过程都花很多时间，然后他们一家人都是之前都不认识，然后也花了时间培养，对。所以其实在这个部分会花最长的时间。
So it took a while for me to cast all the members for this particular film, about 8 months. And the reason for it is because there are so many different members in this particular family, and it takes a lot of time for me to observe each unique qualities for each actors in order for me to see whether or not this is someone who is perfect for the role. So, for example, the grandmother and the son, the grandmother speak the tribal language already, and then the son also is a teacher teaching tribal language. So for them, they are very well versed in the tribal language, and they have wonderful scenes together. Even though I don't understand what they're saying, but I really I can feel the expressions coming out of them, and I know that this is something that exactly what I'm trying to capture. So for a group of strangers to want to become family members on screen in such a short period of time, it takes a lot of preparations, a lot of rehearsals, and then a lot of getting togethers and to somehow create that kind of family cohesion, family dynamics. And that is the times that I spend the most before I actually make this film.
Okay. Well, I guess that's it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you.
Okay. Have a nice day. Bye.